We are with one of my theatrical friends, Russ Gannon, who's joining us. And I've met Russ through doing a number of productions with Casey Sherman. And this guy is addicted to acting more than anybody. I mean, you got to shoot, you got a camera, Russ is in. And he works all the time, big, small. You know, I always see these like little independent things that Russ finds where he finds work. And I think it's great. So, Russ, the first question is, why are you addicted to acting?
Good question. Well, first of all, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Many of you may or may not know, but I came out of radio, and my background was in radio. And about 20 years ago, I was an extra in a film and loved it. Loved the experience.
What was the movie?
The Game Plan with The Rock. So I went to Gillette Stadium. I'm one of 800 extras down there doing.
Russ, I was there. I interviewed The Rock that day. I swear to God.
There you go.
We interviewed The Rock on the sideline that day, so I was there.
There you go. And there was something about the camaraderie, the environment of being on a film, the creativity that I felt lacking from radio. You know, radio had evolved in the 25 years that I had been in it. And I felt like, you know what, I think I want to do something else. And acting seemed like a good idea. And so I started doing a lot of background work. And the more sets I got on, the more I wanted to be on sets. And once I discovered student films as a way to sort of, you know, get footage and get, you know, in front of the camera and learn, then I was off and running. And that's when I got addicted to anything. You put a camera in front of me, give me a script. Don't give me a script. Let me improv.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about radio. Now, there was, as we both worked in it, there was a time where radio was very theatrical. If you want to go back to the 40s, obviously, you had sound effects and you had radio dramas. And it's kind of come full circle with podcasting and nonfiction podcasting, where you have these, murder stories and, or serial and all. Yeah. So it's kind of come full circle. Well, I don't know if it's as theatrical as it was with radio, because radio, a lot of the times it was live.
Yeah.
So were you on the air at first? And did you want to be like the next Maddie in the morning?
I was on, I was behind the scenes at WBCN. That's where I started, the Rock of Boston.
When?
1983. And
oh, glory! You were there in the heyday.
I was. And then, with
Did you do cocaine, Russ? Did you do cocaine?
A lot of it. It was the 80s. It was radio, of course. But of course, it had a different, it didn't have the stigma that it had. It was literally like passing coffee at a party, It's like, here.
Well, that was a party. 83 and BCN was, you were hit.
That was it. And then by the mid-'80s, I was at FNX again during the, when alternative music was really starting to come into its own. And by the end of the 80s, I had graduated from Emerson. I'd been on the air at WERS, and then I joined WRKO when talk radio was really starting to boom before it got all partisan. You could have both sides on one station, and it was good. But my goal was to be a program director of an FM radio station. That's what I wanted to do. I enjoyed being on the air, but I really wanted to program, and there just was no opportunity around here, and I wanted to stay in Boston. And so I got out of radio for a number of years to become a writer and then run a record store. And I wound up back in radio as a DJ on 92.5 The River, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed playing the music that I liked, and I enjoyed being on the air. But when it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the middle of July, and you're in a station all by yourself, and that everybody's outside, and you got 5 hours on the air. You're like, what am I doing here? And everything's pre-programmed. I
was just going to say, you mentioned you wanted to be a program director. Right now, being a program director, as far as music is concerned, and the music stations are pretty much dead. But But there was a time where I remember when I first started, the program director said, you're going to play this music, and the program director would give you some leeway, like you had choices.
Yep.
Like you could play this here, you had some, you could kind of have an identity by picking the music. Well, that's all gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that all disappeared and everything became computer generated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no creativity in it.
When I was at FNX, they had the racks, and let's say they pick out Blood and Chocolate by Elvis Costello, and they look at the last time it was played, and there might be a song on there that hadn't been played yet. So the DJ just wrote it in, and wrote when they were doing it, and they played that song. Years go by, and it's like, oh, this is the song we have to play. It's like, we can't play it. I'm like, well, you're the program director. Why can't you play it? It's like, because, the label told us that that's not the one they're going to MTV with, and
didn't test well.
Yeah, and you're like, but you're the program director. It's your decision to program your station. Well, we want the label's band to play our spring fest, so we don't want to.
Right.
And you're like, oh, yeah. I just it became too much. It became too much. So
now when you go, you got into. It's interesting though. You loved being an extra.
I did.
Did it get old at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you wanted to get in front of. You wanted some lines.
Yeah, when I landed my first role in 2013, I had been doing background work for 7 years, and I had started doing student films. Excuse me, and then I really enjoyed being in front of the camera, and I was starting to learn. But I joined this acting community without having ever acted. I was a stand-up comedian in college. I never did a play. I never took acting classes. I didn't want to be in films. I didn't want to be on stage. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to be on the air, behind the scenes. And so by the time I got into realizing I wanted to be an actor, I was like, ooh, I should probably learn how to act. That's a key to this business, is knowing how to act.
So does it fulfill an emotional need?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How so?
It is.
For you?
Yeah. The best way I can describe it is that when I am telling someone what I do, they tell me, man, you light up when you talk about acting. You can feel the passion that you have for this. That's what I feel when I'm in front of a camera, when I'm on stage, when I'm doing something creative like that. It just fills me up, and it's no better place than to be on a set with creatives creating something that somebody is going to watch or enjoy or something like that. And it's a hard feeling to walk away from, which is why I'm so busy all the time. Because I love being on sets. I love being in front of the camera. I love the camaraderie and also the collaboration aspect of it. Somebody comes to me with a script that's really creative, but there might be one or two moments where I'm like, ooh, you know what we could do here? This might be really interesting. That gets the juices flowing. That's where, and the director's like, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Let's do that. Then it just comes alive. It's like an organism that you're growing, together. So,
yeah, it also it's more than just getting attention, because you could be an influencer. You could go on Instagram and I could drop. I could pull like stupid. Drop, like Letterman drop watermelons from the top of a building, or you could be Gallagher, right? And do, you could be an influencer. You can do these things. It's something about creating a situation where it's creating a situation where things are at stake, either comedically or dramatically. And for me, I think you need that heightened situation, because as one friend said to me, aside from, knock on wood, the various challenges and tragedies that everyone faces in life is pretty mundane. Go to work, do the thing, take the kids, and you have moments with your family. That's great and all that. But when you kill a scene, and it doesn't matter if it's a film or a play that you're doing for free, or a student film, or even an audition. I mean, I love to audition. I love to get the audition. I love to look at the thing. I love to figure it out. I love to, and then you do it, and you got to forget about it because the odds are against you. You know, I just can't. I have trouble explaining it to people, and the only way it's like there's something at stake. I guess
Yeah.
it's almost competitive. It's almost like a game. It's almost like a competition. There's something at stake.
Yeah. It's also, you and I could audition for the same role and give two completely different ideas on what we think
No
that
doubt.
role is. And part of that's the fun and the enjoyment of it as well, to get a script and see what's the idea that comes to you. Is it the first one, the second one? Play around with it. The fact that I can deliver a line 4 or 5 different ways, change the meaning of the scene completely. I mean, that's exciting. There's not a lot of things that you can do, especially if you're working and everything's got to be accurate and this is how you do it and all of that. But acting really allows you to say, okay, well, there is no right way to do this.
Do you remember your first line?
My first line, I think it was from Sins of the Preacher. It was like, well, we want to talk to you, something like that, something like that. So
I'm crying, Russ. I'm crying.
we think it's best that you resign.
What's your philosophy with preparation from the moment you get the script to the time you step on set or the stage?
So I am
Or your
not.
process, I should say.
Yeah. So, I look at the script, I read it, and an image immediately pops into my head. What is this scene about? Where am I? What are the stakes? What are the characters feel like? Can I relate to this character right away?
Right.
I obviously get a lot of dads, police chief, senator, things like that. So
Clergy. You make a
clergy.
good
I do make a lot of.
clergy.
I do a lot of that, and the priests I played have been different. I haven't played the priest like a priest each time, so I have to look at the script and see. What can I do within the lines to make it my own? And so that's what I first do. I try to memorize accurately. I'm terrible at not paraphrasing. I find the character, and then I say, this is what the character would say. And the director's like, well, that's not what the line is. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm the character now. I would say it this way. Right. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just did a film last week where I played a guy similar to like a Mad Hatter role in the middle of the woods who collects memories from Alzheimer's patients and keeps them in marbles. And I kept paraphrasing the lines, and the director's like, you didn't say that line the last take. Well, she was doing it for sound because it was a windy day. She's like, I really need the sound.
Yeah.
I need the line to be exact. And I kept changing it so that I could give her various takes, so that I'm like, here's some choices. Which one do you like? And she's like, I really want the line like that. So when I look at a script and I look at the lines and I immediately see the word that's going to give me trouble, and I'm like, oh man, that's the one that's going to trip me up. But if it just flows and I start to feel it, then I'm in the space and I start to see it, I start to feel it, and I start to create that world, so that when I go onto set, I'm already in that world. Even if the setting's different, I know what my relationship is with the people on that page. So
now it's interesting because there's two schools of thought. There's that, then the other school of thought is, and there's no right way, obviously, it's whatever works, is forget about all my preparation and go in blank.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah.
So would you say you're Stanislavski? Do you have a particular method? Do you look from something from your childhood, something in your experience, or do you manufacture the situation?
So I studied Chekhov, which I really enjoy, the art of the imagination and using the wheel of gesture to create the feelings that you want to convey on screen. So I really enjoyed studying Chekhov the most. Method, I've done a little bit of. You try to tap into some of that just naturally. If I'm in a scene and it's a scene where, there's an emotional arc to it, I'm in it. I know it. I don't necessarily have to have an absolute equal situation to understand and empathize with what the character's going through. But I have been thrown into sets cold and just, maybe I'm filling in for an actor that had to bail, and I'm on set an hour later and they're like, here's the script, here's the situation. I had no chance to prep at all. So then it's a blank slate. It's like, okay, what do you need me to do? What are the stakes? And then create from there. I don't think I give the best performance that way. I like to have some idea going in on what I'm doing, where I am. But then I'll play. If the director says you're totally off, okay, I'll give you something else.
What have you learned from some of the people you worked with? Because you were on American Fiction, correct?
I was, yeah.
And you saw some pretty good actors there.
I was. I did. Jeffrey Wright. I had a scene with Jeffrey Wright at the beginning of the film that was cut, unfortunately.
Kid. Been there. Dude, I shot for 7 days on Ella McKay. Nope, nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. I even had a line with Jamie Lee Curtis standing next to me. Nope, nothing.
Nope. Yep. Yeah,
so what did you learn from him? Because now there's a guy, Jeffrey Wright, who is a tremendous actor. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And I think, Sterling, it's my favorite role for him.
Yeah.
Sterling K. Brown. And then because obviously, he's in a great series now, but it's so heavy.
Yeah.
He was great in that movie. Everybody was great in that movie.
Yeah.
Even you, Russ. I didn't see it, but I know you were great. Well, but what did you learn from a guy like him? Because he's been through it. I mean, that dude has been to get to the point where he got to be the man. He certainly paid his dues. Yeah,
and he was, he was in the situation that he was in. He was at this book fair, and nobody wanted his book, and he was listening to people walk by and not take his book. So he was in that world immediately of a guy that really didn't want to talk to anyone. And so the conversations between us were very, how's it going? How you doing? Because
in between takes.
In between takes.
Yeah.
But watching him, having watched him on Westworld and in some of the Wes Anderson stuff as well, I just want to watch him, like here I am standing in front of him, a guy that I've seen in films, and he's talking to me in the film, and I'm trying to decide if I want his book. I mean, that's besides a little bit of that, maybe not imposter syndrome, but you feel the weight that you're across from somebody that's done.
I did a while ago Chappaquiddick with Jason Clarke, and it's interesting because who's obviously he's terrific too. Two different methods, because you mentioned Wright was in the moment. So Jason was in the Kennedy accent doing the deal, and then they go cut right back into his Aussie. So what do you think about the Red Sox? And I'd be like, what? He would shoot the breeze, blah, 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 hey, I'm going out to eat. And then they go roll and you go right back in it.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different way of doing it.
Yeah, and I think the role plays a big part of that as well. If it's a really emotional role, I'm less jokey on set with people. I try to stay in that cocoon a little bit instead of trying to redevelop it every take or so. So if it's an emotional arc, I stay in that as much as possible. But if it's
I try to stay quiet, which is very difficult for me because I love to talk, especially if I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And I try to stay quiet just to conserve energy, because I know when I say to, especially, my wife, has a real job and isn't on this fantasy thing that I'm on, or different people I work with, I'm talking to my buddy, the plumber, I'll say, when you do scenes, at the end, you're tired. They're like, what? I go, yeah, I'm tired. I'm emotionally tired. They go, you're just saying words. Like, you can't, I don't know if it's the pressure or it's just your focus or your energy, but that happens.
It is, yeah. I mean, you look at us when we finish on stage at one of Casey's plays. I mean, we're spent. It's tiring. You're up there, you're doing the role, you're in the moment, you've got all that, you're all jazzed up to get out there anyway. And then you get out and that release of
then you
that,
crash.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's why I enjoyed plays, but they were exhausting. When I was doing more theater, you're just exhausted. And then when it wrapped, then you're like, what do I do next?
I ask everybody, and this is like our dear friend Allison I said, you got to give me your worst audition experience. Ian had some great ones. Ian had some great ones. And he's very funny in describing them. And then I said to Allison Wackler, I said, Allison, you had? She goes, no. She goes, because I do what I think I should have done. It may not be what the casting director wanted, but I went in and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which is actually a very healthy way to look at it.
Right.
But I mean, I've had some auditions where I've just completely choked and inflamed, just, for whatever reason. So do you have an audition horror story you can share?
I had a couple of callbacks. I mean, I certainly have some in my early, when I was really starting out, where it was the worst. It was the worst. My hands were shaking.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't get the lines out. And I was at Boston Casting once, and it was delivering 3 lines in a police procedural pilot. And the casting director was like, Russ, just relax. Please relax. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
But I had a call back for the holdovers where I didn't really understand the scene. Having seen the movie and seen it, going, now I know. I've played it completely wrong. Alexander Payne's like, give me something else. And I'm like, it was so off. I really thought in that scene, guy's getting drugs because he just dislocated his shoulder. And I think he's trying to do something like, why does he want drugs? And I'm really suspicious. Played it completely wrong. Love, Marriage, and Other Disasters. I was coming off a duck boat, and I was thanking the guy for the tour. I didn't realize we were on a duck boat. For some reason, in the script, I thought I was walking up the stairs at a hotel.
And sometimes you make choices, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. That's another thing. You could still know the situation. I told this one previously, but I auditioned for Smilf, and I had Liv trying to be funny, and then Angela just went, hit it. Don't do that. This isn't about you. Right. Okay, I got it.
I get the don't do a Boston accent, Russ. Don't do it. Don't do it. You can't do it. It's awful. It's whatever. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I'm like, oh, well, I did grow up around here.
But we keep coming back.
Yeah, we do.
Do you prefer the audition from home with your ring light, or do you prefer in the room with a direct casting director?
Yeah, I love self tapes. I really do. During COVID, I built an audio studio that we're sitting in right now, and then I built a self tape studio, and I love being able to play around and look at it and see it, and okay, that's the take I like. Why don't I like that? What am I doing here? I like that. There's certainly the urgency and the immediacy of being in a casting room, and but there's something about a self-tape. And I booked American Fiction off a self-tape.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I've booked stuff off self-tapes, and I've booked stuff in the room as well. So I feel like I give myself a better shot with a self-tape. I just do. That's my...
Yeah, the thing is, if you can go in the room, and for those of you who go in the room with to do an audition in person, which is what we used to do before COVID, is if you can get some feedback. It depends. Like if you go in with Angela or Lisa or Heather or any, the casting people, they'll give you some feedback when you're there. But if you have maybe an assistant or a student who's just recording you, you don't get any feedback, So it's good to get the feedback. Hey man, it's just good to get an audition.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just good to get an audition.
But that's the thing about why I stay busy is during those times when there's not as much major film work. That's why I'm doing all the student stuff, because I'm on set and I'm in front of the camera. I just finished 4 films at Emerson in the last 2.5 weeks.
Exercising the muscle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What advice would you have for people that want to do this?
One thing I learned right off the bat is stay off Facebook. Stay off social media, because you think everyone in the world is acting and working except you. And it kills your self-confidence when you look and you see booked it and you don't know what that means. That could be anything. And you're immediately assuming that they're booking a speaking role opposite, De Niro or something, some major role. Even if it's just, here's your newspaper, sir, whatever. So you're seeing people post because they want people to think they're busy as well. And you think everybody's busy and I'm not busy. So try to stay off social media. My second advice is, somebody told me a long time ago, is we all have our own path. Your path is different than mine, than Allison, than Ian, than Gary. Your path is never going to be the same. So if you're auditioning for the same role as your friends and they get it, then it's not your path. And it's hard to sometimes see that there's something for you. You just haven't gotten it yet. Without that, letting that frustration get to you. So just keep moving.
And enjoy it. That's the thing, is you have to enjoy it. If you're doing this to become a star and win an Academy Award and make a lot of money, well, you're probably going to get frustrated. I mean, just to enjoy it, just to enjoy the moment and being on stage or being in front of a camera and making something cool. That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy it, it's not gonna work. Right. I mean, it's just you gotta enjoy it. Yeah, it's interesting. The social media aspect it's a real conundrum for me, because I try to network as best I can, and there was this casting director that I followed, and I sent a DM to casting director in New York or LA, I can't remember. And she followed me back, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what I did is I just slipped in a note, when my Actors Access page, just saying, hey, here's my type. And then she messaged me right back. She said, oh, don't you know it's taboo to DM a casting director? And I didn't. And I don't a lot. I mean, there's a couple that I know that I've taken classes with that have said it's okay to do so. But I certainly don't want to be a pest.
Right.
But she said that, and I said, I've never heard that. I was like, I never heard that. So I apologize. She said, no problem, but she's still following me.
Well, that's good.
So, so then I sit there, Russ, and I don't have an answer. So I go, well, this casting director is obviously she looked at my profile, right? She said, what's he look like? What could he do? I had some stuff up there. Like I had a picture with Jamie Lee Curtis, and I put that up there. Just to, I kind of was embarrassed by it, but you kind of got to.
Yeah.
Because then the casting director sits there and goes, well, and by the way, the picture with Jamie Lee was not mine. I never asked for photos. Never. I never asked for photos on set. And because I think it's unprofessional. But the photographer, somebody said, hey, why don't you, because I actually talked to her quite a bit on set about the bear, how they shot the bear. And we were talking and stuff and just shooting the breeze. And they said, oh, we'll get a picture. And I said, okay. So I put it up. So if a casting director sees that, they go, oh, okay, I don't know if he can act, but he's not a complete idiot, right? Because a major star took a picture with him and she's smiling. So So like, you know, you put it up once.
Yep.
Once.
Yeah.
You don't like, you put it up once, and then you try to put up a couple of things that you did. Because I think now that's the way people, it's so hard, Russ. Like, you know, because I'm like you. I mean, we're humble New Englanders. It's like, if you want me, here's my thing. Look at it, call me, that's it. But I think it's the way people communicate. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, you know, because CDs are looking at your social media,
Yeah.
you know. So like maybe you don't, you know, maybe you don't want to say booked it. Maybe you just, you know, because some of the stuff I've seen you've done, like with especially some of the independent stuff, you know, where you'll have like I think I saw one where you had like a baseball hat, not for Eephus, but you had a baseball hat on and you had like a vest or something, which was a completely different look. So if you put that out there, you know, that's almost like another headshot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like to post one picture from set. You know,
Right,
I don't need to
right. Maybe just do one.
Yeah.
And it's not like look what I did. It's for the casting people who may be looking out there. It's not like, hey mom, look what I did.
Right.
But maybe if there's a casting person or a producer, you know, that's how the world works right now.
Yeah. And if I'm on
we got to talk about Eephus.
Oh, yes.
Tell me, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's wrap up with that. Tell me about that whole process, and you guys really went on a great journey.
It was unbelievable. Starting
and for those who haven't seen it, the premise.
Yeah, so it's a baseball movie. It's about a group of guys set in the early 90s, and it is the last game played on a field before they tear it down and turn it into a school. And these guys are deciding whether or not this is going to be the last game they ever play, what's going to happen to them, where they're going to play. And so it's a game that it's a movie that takes place over the course of one day in the same location. And it's a slice of life about men going through a loss of something, and it's got an existential feel to it. It's got some funny moments, some very moving moments, but it is really a slice of life. It's a slow moving film, but it really captured people's attention when it was released, and so yeah, we filmed in Douglas, Mass. I auditioned in May of 22. We filmed in October of 22, and we found out in early 24 that it had been accepted to the Cannes Film Festival. And so we were able to go to France and see it premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. And it was as surreal as that sounds. At one point I am standing in front of the Carlton Hotel where Hitchcock filmed To Catch a Thief with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly, and I am staring at the spot where they stood, and I look over, and my film is right there, filming. It's showing right next door. So, for somebody who loves cinema as much as I do, that was a moment. So the film did really well there, got great reviews. We opened in the New York Film Festival at Lincoln Center, and then last year it was released nationally in a limited release in early 25. It did about $500,000 in the box office, which was pretty good. Released on Blu-ray, it's streaming on Mubi, which can be accessed through Amazon. We were eligible for the Oscars for Best Original Screenplay, and we won a Gotham Award, and we were nominated for 2 Independent Spirit Awards. What was more surreal, things happened along the journey. A lot of things. Opening up Sports Illustrated and seeing an article. Opening up Vanity Fair or Vogue. The New Yorker mentioning me by name. That wasn't on my bucket list. Seeing that. But having the New York Times, a month before the Oscars nominations were announced, a critic said Eephus should be considered for Best Picture in the New York Times. So that's where you're like,
that's pretty cool.
You're like, okay, this was an experience, and it was, and for almost 4 years we've been with this experience. We didn't know it was going to be this, but we could not have been more proud of the film. And the experience has been amazing, and it was a role I found on Backstage. it didn't go through a casting agency.
Right.
It was through backstage, and they were looking for a dad who liked baseball. That was me. So
there you go.
That's how it started.
Well, check it out. It's a great film, and it's a great effort by some local guys. Russ, thank you for coming on Addicted to Acting. It's a privilege to be a fellow addict with you.
Thank you. I always love hanging out with you, Gary. Appreciate it.